Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Martha Wolf Show. Now, I'm doing a different sort of show today. If you haven't been able to keep on top of the Iran, Israel, USA, and a bunch of other countries at this point situation, this is going to be the stream for you because I'm not going to be long-winded. I'm not going to give my takes or opinions. I feel like an outsider looking at this. I don't identify really or feel part of either party in this war, either side of this war, and there might be more than two sides in this war. But we're just going to look at what's happening, what's going on, go through it at the maximum speed that is sustainable because there's just so much happening. And I hope that this is helpful to anyone. This is not going to assume a whole lot of prior knowledge, except that Israel and USA did a joint attack on Iran. They waited until there was a meeting, a political meeting between their leaders, and they took them out, bombed a bunch of other things, and then Iran, because not having leadership anymore, they had a plan B of some sort, and now they're just attacking all US bases all around Iran. But it's not clear. I don't actually think we know exactly who's doing that because their leaders are taken out. I think they re-elected another leader. I think that guy was also killed. It's just sort of going on and on like that. But they have this decentralized approach, which I find really fascinating. And I would love to know more from the Iranian side, but I just don't have information on that. So all I'm going to do is go through all the information. We're going to go chronologically. And we're starting at, when was this? 1st of March. And just go through all the things coming. And there are people who have really good opinions, and there are interviews, and there are leaders who are speaking on this. And then there's just a lot of footage of things being hit, missiles, things like that. So we're just going to go through it. It's going to be quick. I'm not going to try to slow down and make this like a comfortable, like for your grandma kind of stream. This is going to be like fast paced, just because I see these interviews like Tucker Carlson, all these people doing, oh, well, okay, what does this mean? Like, blah, blah. And it's sort of catering for this slower sort of audience and trying to create a narrative, trying to break things up, trying to reaffirm, ideological beliefs. I'm not trying to do any of that. I just want to go through the events. And I'm hoping that there's value in that. I think there's value in that. I would like to see a stream like that. So that's why I'm doing it. Otherwise, I just wouldn't do it at all. So we had breaking, that was on March the 1st. Iranian drone struck Dubai airport, and we're just going to go through all the footage. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's working. That's good. There's Dubai airport. People are sort of being rushed around. And I still don't think that they've flown any planes out of there. As far as I know, people are still in Dubai airport, stuck camping from what I've seen. So obviously Iran has been hitting a variety of targets like international infrastructure, things like airports, hotels. And then Nick Soto says, holy crap, CNN is being forced to report on the massive support in the streets of Los Angeles for President Trump killing Ayatollah Khamenei. Oh, I'm going to say this all wrong. We have a historic day here. Let's see what this is.
Each other crying, saying that basically they've been waiting 40.
Just Iranian populations outside of the Middle East. You see the gathering there behind her. Julia, how is the Iranian community responding?
Well, this gathering has only grown, Jessica, over the past few hours, since we've gotten here. It has amassed a large number of people, and the celebration is striking. We got here just moments after initial reports, initial rumors of the death of Ayatollah Khamenei had just started to trickle from Iran to this diaspora community, and people were jumping in excitement, hugging each other, crying, saying that basically they've been waiting 47 years for this very day, Jessica. It is the reason so.
Yeah, so sort of what you hear from the diaspora is that when they go back there, they feel very oppressed. It's very stressful. Everyone has to put their head coverings on, and I'm sure that's not like the only thing. There are just so many levels to this, and they don't feel like there's any freedom, and they don't like it. So there does seem to be that sort of side to the narrative. Now, I'm not, like I said, I'm not taking sides. I think if they want to have a country a certain way, I more power to them. I wish them all the best, and I hope that they get what they want. I don't think historically that's what we've seen. I don't think that these regime change wars have sort of ended up with countries that are really free and democratic. I think it's easier to destroy than to rebuild. But if they can do that and have a prosperous nation, that would be wonderful. A residential tower block in Bahrain has been struck and severely damaged by what multiple sources are describing as an Iranian drone, and that was March 1st as well. So it's just all these things being hit. How would you even repair that? I've just been thinking about like, how are they gonna... They have these beautiful buildings now with like a hole in the side. What are they gonna do? How do you fix that? I'm sure it can be done, but it's gonna be expensive. It's gonna take time. It's really bad. Like, destruction is so bad. So peace is such a fragile thing. Korobocha says, Israel, Sorg desalination plant has been reportedly destroyed by a massive volume of Iranian missiles. Like, that sucks for them. Desalination plant, like, you need that. It's the most massive SWRO plant in the entire planet. If true, that means that 20% of the water available to Israel is gone for a very long time. Like, that sucks for Israel. Are they going to be okay? Are they going to have to, like, move away to a different country? Is Israel going to be a viable place? They're just being bombed or hit by missiles so much. So here's the plant with the water everywhere, flooding. Yeah, that sucks. What's next? Mena Unleashed says, Iran is clearly waging financial warfare on the UAE to trash its reputation with the rich. These areas are not military targets, but economic targets representing UAE role as a wealth-preserving capital for global elites. By creating such images, Iran ensures that UAE is no longer seen as safe for businesses. The UAE will never recover from this. There's obviously all opinions. I should say, and I should have preemptively said, I'm not confirming or denying or endorsing like any of the things I'm reading. I'm just going through information that's available about this war, and it's just really interesting. I don't have any... I'll give my little comments on the side, and that's about it. So basically, I guess Iran's idea is to say, well, if you allow US bases and you are basically partnering up with America and Israel, we're gonna target you economically and your military and economic infrastructure. Which I can see the sense in that. I can see where they're coming from. It's just, it's erratic. It's nuts. How is it even possible to be hitting targets like all around your country? Like, there's a map somewhere in here of all the places they're bombing. It's pretty crazy. Easy, cheap targets with high devastating and long-term impacts. The UAE was always a house of sand. Shouldn't it be a house built on sand? But anyway, I'm just reading it. Like I said, I'm not endorsing this necessarily. That sucks, because I've been reading about some of these Middle Eastern cities and they sound cool. Some of these places I was like, yeah, that would be cool, like just for a few years, just live in a completely different place, like really urban, and it's definitely obviously makes you rethink and reconsider. Thomas Van Lynch says, unbelievable footage from inside the Era Tower in Manama, Bahrain. Filming the Iranian Shahed drones as it slams into the building just several floors up from the point of view. You can really see it. There it is. That's... wow. I hope that person was okay. That's nuts. Breaking the Strait of Hormuz is effectively closed. Japanese tankers turning back, so that was 1st of March. Japanese tankers turning back, Greek fleets rerouting, Saudi, Iraqi, and Emirati crude sitting still in the water. Oil jumped 12% in hours. So this is, and they said that's just beginning. I was just going to say that was a while ago now. So we'll have to see what's happening with all that. And obviously a place like Australia, we don't have a lot of stored oil. So I just don't know how it's going to play out. I just can't really fathom the supply chain disruptions and how it's going to affect people. I went out today with my children, as I do, and people just sort of look really defeated and really like just there's like no kind of fighting spirit in some people, but I don't know if that's just a tiny sample of people I've seen. It's just sort of, I think the cost of living here is nuts. I mean, it's well known, but it's nuts, and people are like already being squeezed. We're starting from a squeezed position, and I mean like people generally, of course with the exceptions, there are always exceptions out there, always like boomers who own their house outright. There are always things like that, but even the boomers need like groceries, they need services, hospital things, like who knows what kind of supply chains are going to be disrupted if they are. And even the boomers are very dependent on house prices because a lot of them have a lot of their money, a huge proportion, tied up in houses. So I know that's more like a housing market thing, but who knows how this is going to disrupt everything. It's going to be very interesting to see. A fifth of the world's seaborne oil and all of Qatar's LNG exports stopped. So there's a map of it. Strait of Hormuz, United Arab Emirates. Yeah. I don't know if it's closed in any actual way or if it's just the fear of being attacked. I suspect it's just people are just scared to go through there. For fear of, being attacked by Iran. Iran killed high-ranking US military commanders in Gulf hotels, confirmed by the New York Times and Reuters. Okay. Wow. It's like a firework, isn't it? How did they know they were staying there? How did they know all this stuff? That's nuts. And then global statistics, safest places on Earth during World War III. Wow. Fiji, Tuvalu. So they must all be all these places are kind of near out here, so we're lucky. But Australia's not on the list. New Zealand, Indonesia, Iceland, Argentina, Chile, Switzerland, Bhutan, Antarctica. Yeah, okay. But who's going to go? That's not safe. You're going to freeze to death. South Africa, that's unsafe for other reasons. Like, I don't feel like these are really good options. New Zealand, like, okay, but you have like an economy that's crap. I don't know. Australia's not sounding half bad, honestly. Greenland, okay. The launch of Iranian missiles is visible from Bahrain. Insane sight. It looks like Israel and the USA were unable to achieve air superiority over Iran this time, so they can't hunt launchers with surveillance drones at scale. So Iran is simply firing missiles in large numbers unhindered. Seems like it, because it's just going on and on. Unbelievable. I bet the plan was different, but Iran was well prepared. And they are a huge country, so it's not like they have this tiny space to shoot from. I'm guessing they're shooting from all over. I have no idea. They're just, yeah, they're shooting like from the ground up, all these different spots. Scott is the most smartest analyst I ever heard, says your ex.
Are the same.
These sources, I have no idea how legit half of these sources are. It's just interesting,
The Iranians are too smart. They said, correct me if I'm wrong, but the statement is, if America bombs us, we hit Israel with everything we have because we treat Israel as an extension of America. We don't separate the two. If Israel attacks us, we hit the American bases because Israel and America are the same. Our target deck will not change. If you want a war with us, we'll bomb the same targets regardless of who starts the war. That's just the truth. That's what the Iranians have said. And I believe them. I believe them. I believe that if the United States bombed Iran, Tel Aviv would be turned upside down that night. So there's no best case scenario for Israel. There's no, Israel's in an existential crisis of its own making by defining Iran as the greatest threat in the world to Israel, and therefore a threat that needs to be taken out. They've basically allowed for only one solution that's politically acceptable, but that's a solution they can't execute, they can't achieve. So they have a political problem. Donald Trump is fortunate that he hasn't painted Iran into that corner yet. Iran right now is purely a nuclear problem. Marco Rubio is trying to make it a ballistic missile problem. But I think that the more the Iranians just say, look, we don't want a war. But the only reason why we're here today is because we have these missiles that you're scared of, and we're not giving them up. If you want us to give them up, you have to not only pull all your aircraft carriers away. Here's the deal. This is what I would tell them. We'll take our missiles off of frontline status and put them in storage spaces. You take your aircraft carriers and put them in the port. And then as you...
Yeah, like, how's it fair? So you're Iran. You're surrounded by all these US military bases and Israel, but yet you're supposed to not be armed. Well, you're just asking them to become weak, and then we pretty much know what they do with weak countries. So it's only power that gets you any kind of respect. It just sucks the way it is, You
decommission your aircraft carriers, we'll decommission our missiles. Meanwhile, we want inspectors on the ground in Israel making sure that all of their airplanes have been throttled down so they can't fly long distances. We don't want any Israeli aircraft that can reach Iran. And what reach Iran means they can't fly into Iraq and fire their standoff missiles. So you eliminate Israel's long-range strike capability verifiably. You eliminate your ability to, and then we'll get rid of the missiles. Fair's fair, right?
Like, there's a path towards peace, if, like, one of the only ones I've ever heard. Well, there you go. There would be a potential plan, at least.
Because anything else is just setting Iran up to be destroyed. The only reason why Iran exists today is because of its long-range ballistic missile program. That's it. That's the only reason. And to give it up and not insist on other changes is suicide.
Yeah, I thought that was a really good comment. Lane on the blockchain says, one reason Twitter, despite being absolutely broken in many ways, never gets threatened by blue sky or threads or whatever, is because you have obviously state-sponsored shitposting in the middle of a war. Iran military monitor says, we're lowering hotel prices in Dubai to make visits more affordable for everyone, and there's just videos of them just shooting missiles, like, into hotels. Ah, dear. Wow. Pentagon releases combat footage from Operation Epic Fury. The US military has published its own footage from the strikes on Iran, giving the world its first official look at the scale of the assault. I actually find that really interesting. Like, what do these things look like on the ground and closer up? Wait. Did that plane just explode? Oh. Oh. So it's like from above, filmed down. I was like, wait a second. Boom, explode. Oh, that's a bit rude, isn't it? Alright, interesting. So that was the big initial Operation Epic Fury. I'm pretty sure was there was like two of them. Roaring Lion and Epic Fury. Now I can't remember exactly which one was which. I can't keep up with this. Chevron and ExxonMobil are now targets. Following the US and Israeli strikes on Iran, Iranian officials have stated that all American and Israeli assets and interests in the Middle East are now legitimate targets for retaliation. No wonder Trump wants an off-ramp on day one. Iran is raising the stake. American energy giants in the region have been declared legitimate military targets. I didn't even know that America had that much infrastructure over there. Like, that's nuts. There's so much stuff all around. It's so far away from the US. Like, it's clearly this global empire. Okay, that is not even in English. I'm not even going to try to read that language. Okay. Me and my friend trying to figure out if we should be getting ready for World War III, AI takeover, economic collapse, or all of the above. Yeah, I think it's all of the above. Pretty much. New York Times headlines on Khamenei. I would like say Khamenei, but anyway, that's me just not speaking that language. This is real. Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, hardline cleric who made Iran a regional power, dies at 86. Like, oh yeah, he died. Elon Levi says Iranian women are dancing in the streets without their hair coverings after hearing that Israel killed the tyrant Khamenei. So many Western leaders should feel ashamed at their cowardly response this morning, we will all remember. It's interesting when you look at who's posting this side of the story. It's so interesting because you hear kind of almost opposite, almost contradictory things. I'm not saying both things can't be happening at once. But then you look at who's posting that. So apparently there are women without hijab on dancing in the street. But once again, I can't confirm or deny any of this stuff. I don't know. Health Ranger says reports that 200 US personnel have already been killed and Trump is just getting started. That was March 1st. He's a war criminal at this point and Congress needs to grow a backbone and stop him. But yeah, I hear different numbers of how many US personnel have been killed as well. Like, I hear different numbers. I don't know. Breaking: a Chinese tourist in Tel Aviv captured footage of a US military support ship being hit by Iranian missiles with thick black smoke billowing out, confirming rumors of Iranian military reports of strikes concentrated on American vessels. So there you go. There's a strike.
起烟了没有？航母被炸了啊！看看啊！航母被炸！哇塞，航母被炸了啊！看看啊，看到没有？看见了吧？这航母被炸了啊！
There's smoke coming out of it. Why striking Dubai is deviously genius, says Mikhail Rosenwald. It's all about cost benefit. Israel has been under constant missile and rocket attacks for 40 years. They don't care. US bases in the region are prepared to deal with these attacks. Dubai is not at all prepared and its population has no stomach for a prolonged campaign. 2 to 3 days of this and there will be widespread panic in Dubai. Meanwhile, Dubai in the UAE has great leverage over Trump. Remember all those Trump coins, personal investments and donations to the Board of Peace? Striking Dubai makes it very costly for Trump to keep the war going, and Iran is a cornered beast. They don't care about future relations with the UAE. For the UAE, this is damage control. They need the attacks to stop now. They can't prioritize revenge or political motives. They will push Trump to end the war very quickly. And yeah, it sort of seems to be like generally the mood that people don't want this, obviously. You think. Iran now attacking energy infrastructure. Looks like we might be facing down a 1970s style energy crisis. There's no way the Western economies are robust enough to withstand this. Interest rates will go bananas and there will be mass defaults. Breaking: Iranian sources claim that Emirati oil platform in the Persian Gulf has been targeted by Iranian drones. Yeah. Just in. Muslims in Kashmir are hearing the news of Sayyid Khamenei's martyrdom. So when I say just in, I'm just reading it out, but this was once again 1st of March. So Khamenei was an almost papal figure for Shia Muslims loved around the world. Trump has made a massive mistake. So look at all these people. Don't know what they're saying, of course. It doesn't even say here what they're saying. What are they saying? And Grok says this footage is from Shia Muslim protest in the Srinagar, Lal Kashmir, India, today, the March the 1st of 2026. So there's like a lot of people. That's a lot of people. Oh my goodness. Adam Kochan says, why are so many bases being successfully hit? There should be no world in which we planned an attack in Iran, expecting counterstrikes, and have had our defensive systems exhausted so rapidly. We should have been stockpiled with enough Patriot missiles to defend these things for weeks. Iranian drones hit a US base in Erbil, Iraq. The weapon depot is on fire, with secondary explosions still rocking the area. Someone's edited music into it. Okay, but it's on fire, so yeah. France enters the war. France is sending its Charles de Gaulle aircraft carriers to support Israel. Israel's bitten off more than it can chew. That was 2nd of March. Britain is currently in a hostage situation, says the Wall Street Mav. The Prime Minister and the UK Secretary for Defence keep repeating over and over again, we are not involved in Iran and we didn't help the USA. And this person says they are terrified of what their Muslim captors will do to them. So they're basically saying that because UK has such a large Muslim population, they're really feeling kind of split and trying to appease both sides and not take sort of either side in this. Not that I do personally either. But yeah, I'm not going to play the whole thing, but because I'm trying to really get through all the information really quickly here. I just think we need a rundown. But he's just avoiding. He's completely avoiding.
You don't know if it's legal. You don't have a view as to whether or not these strikes were the right thing to do and within international law.
So it's for the US to explain the legal basis they're operating
but
on.
Other countries have. Forgive me. Other important allies of the UK have. So Canada, for example, Australia, for example, sure. Close allies of yours and of this country's have both said explicitly that they do back what America and Israel have done. And you're taking a different position.
So I'm here as British Defence Secretary. Our first focus and all our action is defensive. It's within international law. It's coordinated with regional allies to make sure that we can reinforce and protect not just our UK personnel and people, but UK allies, bases and partners in the region. And we share that long-term aim. We share that determination that Iran should never have a nuclear weapon.
But that's a different answer to the question of whether or not you...
Yeah, so it just goes on like that. That's basically sums it up. I can understand this sort of trying to be diplomatic and not really take either side. He's still saying Iran shouldn't have nuclear weapons. So he's still saying we should have like a dominant West that's not seriously challenged by a lot of other countries. So I guess that's enough for some people. And here is Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei himself. I don't know when that was. Obviously that is not from that day because he was dead by then. And it's just interesting because you just never hear much from this. I just don't hear much from this whole culture and this whole part of humanity. He says, we did what we have to do, we had said what we needed to be said, and we will continue to say it. My life has little value. People are like, I have a disabled body.
اندک آبرویی هم دارم که این را هم خود شما به ما دادید. همه اینها رو من کف دست گرفتم در راه این انقلاب و در راه اسلام فدا خواهم کرد. اینها هم نثار شما باشه. سید ما، مولای ما، دعا کن برای ما. صاحب ما تویی، صاحب این کشور تویی، صاحب این انقلاب تویی.
So it's very sort of
پشتیبان ما شما هستید.
You are our support.
ما این راه رو ادامه.
It's very, very different to how leaders in the Western world and like the secular kind of world talk. I mean, you just don't hear. This is completely different. Like this, very much we're a group, and I'm like super humble and like, yeah. It's funny because a lot of the time the way we paint, I'm not even gonna say we, the way in the US empire, let's say it like that, the US and its allies more broadly, the way they paint their enemies is much more like they themselves are. And I've found this generally in the Anglosphere, and I know that when I say the US empire, I don't necessarily mean that it's Anglo, but in the Anglosphere generally, it's sort of, there's very specific things that they take issue with, but they also themselves do. It's almost like it's really projection, that's what it is. Like, for example, in Australia, and I know this is also in other places like in Britain, they have school uniforms and they're very like adamant about it. And it's obviously it's not like, oh, I care about your personal growth or development, or I really want you to, you know, like learn a specific thing. It's not learning related, it's all external. It's like it's enforcing externals, like the uniform. I mean, how much more, you know, enforcing almost arbitrary rules. You can't get more than that. You can't get more so than enforcing someone to wear a certain color of socks or hats or whatever it is that they're enforcing. And then they also paint their enemies in that same way, but really it's not like that when you look at those countries and those cultures that they paint in that way. It's really bizarre. There was like a weird flash on the screen. I hope that's nothing. Okay, so Pandora's box opener asks nicely if you can close it. Yesterday, the US reached out to Iran through Italy, suggesting a ceasefire. Well, who did they reach out to if everyone's dead? Tehran rejected the idea outright. So whoever's still there, I guess. Oh my goodness. There we go. Iranian hypersonic missile evades more than 10 intercept rockets to hit a target. That is crazy. The cameraman just calmly records like it's a fireworks display. Okay. Oh my God. Oh my God. They're all screaming. It sucks that everything's just blurry lights in the sky and it all looks the same to me, but I guess there's a missile and then there's interceptors. They're meant to take the missile out and then failing to do so.
Oh my God.
Whoa. I mean, that sounded like it was loud. That's so expensive. Like, these interceptors are so difficult to produce and so expensive, and apparently they're just running out of them. And then someone said, breaking 560 US soldiers killed by Iran. I have no idea if that's true or not. No idea. There are calls for, and we're March 2nd, calls for Australian Federal Police and state authorities to shut down and investigate multiple mosques in Australia following planned events to honour the life of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, the leader of Iran's terrorist regime, who was killed in the US-Israeli strike on a okay. So they were going to do these events. They had these pamphlets ready. Oh, look, they even posted them. Remembering his life. Critics of the planned events argue that they do not fall under religious freedom, as gatherings will clearly glorify a prescribed terrorist entity in Australia, which is unlawful. Okay. Law enforcement's response is being closely watched as multiple arrests and prison sentences have been handed down in Australia over the past few years for what many view as simple free speech violations. Yeah, like obviously I don't believe in that. I think we should have free speech, and this stuff sounds like free speech. If there's any crimes committed like as a follow-on from the meetings or celebrations or mourning, whatever, of course crime should be treated as crimes, but I don't think that speech should be criminalized, but it is. Welcome to Australia. State of the Union says Warner. He says, I saw no intelligence that Iran was on the verge of launching any kind of preemptive strike against the United States of America. So that's kind of what the consensus is going to now, as far as I can see from
in harm's way.
You heard Chairman Cotton say that the president's decision is completely justified. What do you think?
I think the president has started a war of choice. There was no imminent threat to the United States. So the decision to put our service members in harm's way and bases around the region in harm's way was entirely based upon the president's decision, not an imminent threat to America. I think it is incumbent that the president of the United States comes before the American people and the Congress and makes the case of why he has chosen to go to war at this point. You know, ironically, Dana, if the president had chosen to take one of these actions back in early January, when the Iranian people were on the streets in the millions, you could make a case because that might have nudged the regime into dramatic change. He couldn't make that choice because the aircraft carrier that would have assisted that operation was off the coast of Venezuela at that point, and our allies in the region, in Europe in particular, who would have been helping us make that choice in January, were very focused on the president's, crazy folly around Greenland. So the fact that he has chosen now, why now as opposed to a few weeks from now, to have given the negotiations a bit more time to see if they play out. Now, listen, I will be the first to acknowledge having the supreme leader and other major leaders of the Iranian regime eliminated is good for the region, good for the world, but for anyone to pretend or to assume that this is over at this point, that Iran is not going to continue to strike back, and thank God so far it appears we've not lost any of our service members. But the president himself said on Friday night when he launched this war that he expected casualties. So I think there's still got to be a case to the American people. And again, this was the guy that was going to keep us out of endless wars in the Middle East.
I have a couple of follow-ups to some of the things you just said. First of all, you have access to intelligence that few other people have. The president said in the video he put out that there was a possibility that the Iranians could use missiles that could strike the American homeland. Senior administration officials said that the timing was chosen because they saw intelligence that the Iranians were going to launch preeminent strikes. Did you see any of that information?
The Iranians have been working on increasing their military capabilities. And remember, this was supposed to be military capabilities, at least on the nuclear front, that the president himself said were obliterated based upon the strike of 7 months ago. I saw no intelligence that Iran was on the verge of launching any kind of preemptive strike against the United States of America.
None.
None.
Oh, there you have it. Yeah, there's a lot that people don't like it when they vote against more wars and regime change, and that's exactly what they get. Like, that's not good. You have to justify that to people. Max Blumenthal says, WAPO, the mood inside the Pentagon is intense and paranoid. Pentagon leaders worry the US will expand its air defense stockpiles and the conflict will spiral out of control. This is precisely what Pentagon Joint Chiefs Chair Duncan warned of last week. There is anxiety amongst senior leaders that the fighting will extend for weeks, further stressing limited U.S. air defense stockpiles. People familiar with the situation said. There's a concern about this lasting more than a few days, said another person. I don't think people have fully absorbed yet, like, what that has done with stockpiles. They added, noting that it often takes 2 or 3 air defense interceptors to ensure that an incoming missile is stopped. Yeah, it's like a disproportionate thing. It's just easier to destroy than to defend. Philip Pilkington says, European natural gas prices soaring right now. The continent is about to get a double whammy of cost of living crisis. I see Germany is discussing going to war with Iran or something. Madhouse. There's your graph for the price of natural gas. Ignis Rex says the US military is low on missile interceptors and will not be able to defend the Gulf states from Iranian drone attacks on US military bases and Mossad stations in the Gulf. The post below was posted by Admiral Stavridis and then deleted because he realized he just announced to everyone that the US is unable to sustain this war. Admiral James Stavridis said, as both the US and Israel expend hundreds of precision weapons from JDAMs to Tomahawks to Patriots, it's time to start focusing on logistics. How deep are the stockpiles? In wars, the true professionals are ultimately logisticians. Yeah. JM News Network says, Bahrain Shiites, who represent 80% of the Bahraini people, take to the streets in support of Iranian military operations in response to the targeting of the US bases in Bahrain to rid their country and the Middle East of American-Israeli hegemony. Let's hear them celebrating or supporting They got rhythm. Don't know what they're saying, but they got rhythm. Dan Collins says, embassies used to be an absolute no-go zone in military conflicts, and it was always respected. Then the CIA hit the Chinese embassy in Belgrade in 99. I don't remember that. Just in visual confirmation, Iran bombed the US embassy in Saudi Arabia. Smoke billowing out. More smoke, more smoke, more smoke. See how quickly you can report this stuff? There you go. Next. This is what I like. This is like the pace I like. I don't want to have endless conversations about stuff. I just want to know what's going on. Iran hit 14 countries in one night. Here's what happened to each. This is actually really good because it's like a little summary. Israel, 9 dead. Beit Shemesh flattened by ballistic missiles. UAE, Burj Al Arab on fire. Abu Dhabi airport, 1 dead, 7 injured. Dubai airport concourse hit, 4 wounded, flights in chaos. Bahrain, US Navy, 5th Fleet headquarters, massive fire, black smoke visible for miles. Bahrain, stray missile hit an apartment block full of civilians. That sucks. Kuwait, airport terminal struck. Ali Al Salam airbase bombed. Qatar, Al Udeid airbase hit the largest US base in the entire Middle East. Saudi Arabia, Riyadh explosions at night. Saudi prince secretly asked Trump to bomb Iran first. It seems like out of place of this report, but anyway. Jordan, ballistic missiles intercepted. Burning debris rained on civilian areas. Iraq, US military bases across the country targeted. How many US military bases are there all over the place? That's nuts. Oman, struck by Iranian missiles. Syria, targeted in the wave. Cyprus. Oh, so sorry. RAF Akatora UK base hit directly by Iran. UK, a NATO allies military base attacked for the first time. Oh, like for the first time ever? I don't know. Wow. France, Camp de la Paix in UAE struck. Italy, NATO camp at Ali Al Salam, Kuwait bombed. Oil is up 30% in one day to $82 a barrel. So I guess that would be like 150 Australian, something like that. Gold surging past 5,300. Strait of Hormuz disrupted. 20% of the world's oil flows through it. Flights suspended across the Gulf. 170 ballistic missiles fired in 24 hours. Wow. The Saudi prince asked the US to start this war, supposedly. I'm just reading, I'm just reporting, right? Iran made sure everyone around him paid the price. This is not a regional conflict. This is the beginning of something much bigger. And then here's a cool map of... But it sucks because they're making it look as if they're sending missiles into the actual countries. But obviously sometimes it's just their like military bases. So disregard parts of this, please. Just in an aerial photo of American embassy in Riyadh that Iran struck. President Trump responded to Iran. You will find out very soon what the response will be to the attack on our embassy in Saudi Arabia. There's the embassy in Saudi Arabia burning down completely, basically. Spain, and this is today, Spain expels US aircraft from its bases. 15 US aircraft to leave Spain. They're everywhere. They're all over the world. To leave Spain after government says bases cannot be used for Iran attacks. So obviously Spain wants to distance itself and not be part of that. White House appeared to have gone in flat-footed. The surprise is gone, and what's already been set in motion may be harder to contain. Sending more assets only risks widening the escalation even further. Never seen anything like it. And the Firetooks network says at least 17 US Air Force tankers are en route to the Middle East. And then there's a map. I don't know how helpful that map is. And people are saying that people at the Pentagon are just sort of questioning what is actually happening here. Big Search says it's a very weird war. Iran prepared for decapitation strikes by pre-authorizing field commanders to retaliate at will. You have the Iranian foreign minister admitting that military units are mostly out of command at the moment. So in a sense, Iran turned itself into a giant bomb primed to detonate when it got hit. The Iranian military is essentially weapons-free, which makes it hard for them to coordinate or mass strikes. It also makes them unpredictable and difficult to control. So they're claiming that basically all these missiles are not being sent by the Iranian military. It's strange, but On the other hand, you have the United States pursuing contradictory war aims. The White House seems to want to negotiate, but decapitation leaves you with nobody who's clearly empowered to negotiate. Since Iran's military is basically emptying the clip without central direction, it's not even clear that a ceasefire would be implemented by Iran if they wanted it. Trump explicitly said that the people they expected to take charge in Tehran are now dead. It's all a recipe for maximum chaos with few breaks. The US has to commit to a throwaway game either until Iran's strike capability is completely degraded, until Tehran reasserts central control and can submit to some sort of negotiating ceasefire. The latter doesn't seem likely because US is systematically degrading Iranian command and control. It's like, yeah, you had people negotiating, you had people signing like deals and treaties and things like that, and then you take them all out. Stefan Molyneux says, so the Americans blew up the Iranian officials who had gathered together to negotiate with Americans. Okay, cool, I guess. But no one will ever negotiate with the Americans ever again. Diplomacy is totally destroyed for at least a generation or two. It's obviously arguable, isn't it? Spain just broke ranks, condemned the US-Israel war, called it a breach of international law, and one of the few Western leaders with a spine. The empire expected unity. Spain just reminded them not everyone bows. So they are breaking ranks, and this is different, isn't it? And unilaterally attacked Iran without consulting the international community. It's possible to be against a hateful regime as Spanish society as a whole is against the Iranian regime, and at the same time to be against an unjustified, dangerous military intervention that is outside of international law. So he's not happy with it. War update. The Western mainstream media tries to hide. Iran is smoking Israel like the world has never seen before. There are reports Israelis are starting a massive exodus and bunkers are in full panic mode.
إذا عدد كبير من الصواريخ الآن تسقط على تل أبيب. صواريخ اعتراضية على الأقل. دعينا نسمع فقط الصوت هبة، وإذا كان بالإمكان أن ترصدي الأخبار التي يتم إذاعتها وإعلانها.
It seems very odd. I mean, who knows? This could be AI generated. No one knows, right? You don't know. Attempts to overthrow the Bahraini government by Shiite protesters have begun. Other videos show Molotov cocktails being thrown. There are reports that Iran is attempting to assist them by striking bridges used by the Saudis. Wow. I would love to know their group chats and conversations and planning and strategizing. Would be interesting. So what are they doing? Just videos of... Okay. Military vehicles. Who's driving them? I don't know. Sunni versus Shia, I guess. We're back to that. Breaking. Trump has isolated. UK PM Starmer says, I will not commit our military personnel to unlawful action. They are entitled to better than that. Even our allies are drawing red lines.
Yes, but I'm very clear in the advice that I received, and I will not commit our military personnel to unlawful action. That is not what they would expect and deserve. They are entitled to better than that. Yes, but I'm very clear in the advice that...
Okay. Israel took some big hits last night. Shortage of interceptors is already critical and is directly affecting the United States, Israel, and their allies. What? How is it exploding like that? Whoa. That's nuts. They weren't exploding like that in the previous videos. Remember, all these missiles, they kind of went in, there was a little fire. But not like this. Look at his body language. He can't back out. He can't talk to Iran. He can't win this war. He can't stop this war. He can't do regime change. He's stuck with this war in Iran. This is what happens when you underestimate your enemy. Iran shattered his arrogance with just a few missiles and drones. Lesson, never underestimate your enemy no matter how strong you are. So you can sort of see the rhetoric and the mood. Is, yeah. It's edited with music. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see who's going to be held accountable for all this. And how much longer this will go on for. It could be ages, who knows. Reports say USS Arlington is loading nonstop in Norfolk with armed security nearby. Here's what that actually means. Arlington is an amphibious transport dock, LPD-24 San Antonio class. Think of it as a floating logistics hub for a marine landing force. It can embark hundreds of marines plus vehicles, ammunition and supplies, then push them ashore using landing craft from its well deck and helicopters or tilt rotor aircraft from its flight deck. It sounds huge. Whoa. It's a ship you load when you might need marines and equipment on short notice. If the US is rushing to backfill gear now, it suggests basic readiness and prepositioning was not in place before Trump lit the match. You do not start a war and then remember the packing list. So which is it? Evacuation, deterrence, or the first step to something bigger? Stay connected. And here's a video of it. Oh, that is huge. Oh my goodness. Wow. All right. Oh, that's the last thing I had. I think I couldn't open any more things. I think it was just refusing. So the only other thing I can do, see is there any other updates. So I don't think I'll be doing something like this every day. Iran army updates. Iranian missiles targeting American F-15s in Kuwait. It wasn't friendly fire. 3 American F-15s were destroyed by Iran. Last day. Last day, I mean yesterday. Oh my goodness, there's a guy coming out on a parachute. Oh. Oh. Oh no. This is just too rude. People making fun of JD Vance. Like, this is cruel. That's cruel. Dubai hotels being bombed. Although this video almost looks AI. Like, that's nuts. Oh no. This is a different X account than I usually use. It's just got like AI slop on it. This is not good. Oh, no. Okay, I think this is the last thing we're gonna do. I'm gonna call it a night. And everyone is bombing each other, but no one invites you. It's King John just being sad. Oh. People are having way too much fun. Way too much fun. Oh no. Is this real? Oh no. Some of the stuff I just don't know if it's real. Alright everyone, I gotta call it a day. That was good. I hope that was just a bit of an update, trying to keep on top of everything that's happening. Alright. Good night everyone.